Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a satisfying Saturday so far. I know I've certainly spent the start of mine rather hungover. Today, you can probably guess what we're going to be talking about. Certainly, it's behind me. It's the big elephant in the room within the financial markets right now. We're going to be talking about the Russia-Ukraine crisis, if you will, because this is weighing very heavily on markets. And again, just like the whole, are the Fed going to up interest rates? Aren't they going to up interest rates? Kind of uncertainty. This is bringing uncertainty to markets, which is going to see people, sort of wait on the sidelines to see how this plays out. And what I'm going to do in this video, this is going to be our daily cryptocurrency market update. We're going to be talking about this, talking about a number of factors at play here, giving a little bit of my opinion on it, although I'm going to kind of stay somewhat reserved. I tend not to dabble in politics on this channel, although I do also like to highlight just how corrupt and how much BS there is in the current world that we live in. It's rife, and I think people are smart enough to make their own decisions. But we're also going to be doing a number of things. We're going to be reviewing the fact that the Fed are holding an emergency meeting on Monday. So this Monday coming, and this is obviously in the wake of the high inflationary statistics. 7.5% inflation is insane, ladies and gentlemen. And the Fed are going to have to do something about this. They are going to have to up interest rates. Now, I'm arguing they're not going to be of any sort of significant measure. I think we're in a way too leveraged system for that. And they would essentially put not just the US, but many countries around them into a recession, essentially. If not, depending on the damage and how things go, a depression. But we'll talk about it all. So we're really going to start with the Russian news. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin. Raul's got some advice for us. Raul Powell's got some advice for us in regards to how to trade geopolitical events. Key tips from my 32-year career. A thread. Don't. You have zero edge in trading CNN, Fox, CNBC rumor headlines, which are direct path to losing money. This is a public service announcement. Thanks. So what he's saying here is markets are markets. We've said, and we've stressed this time and time again, that price often doesn't dictate or depict the underlying asset that it's trying to represent. Price, in what makes up the price, there's speculation, there's a whole basket of things at play. How well the economy is doing, how well it isn't doing, are we getting stimulated, are we not, and so on and so forth. So this close for Bitcoin, I mean, it's not a beautiful close at all. It's definitely a hammering candle, a shooting star as they're referred to, which is typically negative. Remember, Bitcoin is still in a downtrend technically. However, there have been times when these have actually been counterintuitive and actually signaled, you can see over here, you've gone on to kind of uptrend after this. So it is looking like we are going to get that sort of shooting star candle. Isn't the end of the world. I think a lot of what's taking place with not just Bitcoin, but markets across the board is to do with Russia and them. The US has essentially said, look, it's kind of likely that they're going to invade Ukraine. I'm not really sure what to believe here at all, because I certainly don't believe the mainstream media and what they're saying. Russia is essentially saying that they're not planning on invading Ukraine, but the US and other countries are saying, yes, they are, and they are, I believe they do have troops surrounding the border, or sort of flexing their muscles, if you will. So it's all a bit, and then of course, you've got the US that are claiming this is going on for one reason, and you've got Russia saying, look, we don't want the Ukraine becoming part of NATO because it, essentially what happens there is it means you've sort of put a bulldog on our front doorstep, which is quite threatening. So you've got two countries that have, or really this is between the US and Russia. I think Ukraine is just somewhat of a straw man. That's my take on it. I could be completely wrong. I choose not to get involved with this sort of stuff because ultimately, I think in 2022, human beings should have evolved enough to know that war is just not the way to solve things. Yet we seem to end up at going down that road time and time again. And how many wars, even in my lifetime, and I've not been on the planet, I'm sure there's many of you watching that have been here a lot longer than I have. How many wars have we had in our lifetime that we found out later on down the road that there was actually no need for? and the actual reasons behind even going and getting involved with those wars were completely wrong from what the public was told, and you know, often of instead of being for the greater good, for you know, to save other people, of being ready to enrich a very small amount of individuals, and being a real power grab. So we just don't know what the political game is behind the scenes. As it stands, you've got the Dow drops 50 points, Nasdaq sinks more than 2% on fear of a Russia attack on Ukraine. Just like the Fed and what they're going to do, causing uncertainty with markets. People in a risk-on environment, they don't want to be in risky assets. They don't really want to be. Lots of people just cash out. I know a lot of people that have a lot more money in markets than I do, and they will mitigate damage in any kind of a volatile period like this. They're not looking to take risk on. They'll wait for a direction to be asserted before re-entering. And right now, you've got a huge amount of uncertainty. It's been a wild... I mean, there's never a dull moment in markets. It's been an absolutely wild couple of years. It's been an easy couple of years, given what happened in March 2020 and all the stimulus that saw into markets across the board. It's essentially just been going up. But now we've got to start earning our money, and we've got to start, you know, coming up with what do we think plays out here. Now, we're going to do a video tomorrow where we're going to look at Bitcoin and where it potentially could be going, because I honestly think that Amazon 2010 is a real good schematic to overlay to where Bitcoin currently is, given the sort of pressures that surround it. Market wrap: cryptocurrencies and stocks drop as Russia-Ukraine tensions rise. Geopolitical risk shoots markets on Friday as BTC dipped below 43k. So obviously the big story, I mean, they couldn't have chose, I may actually put this in my thumbnail, they couldn't have chose a worse picture. You've got Vladimir Putin saying one thing, and you've got these, you know, Biden saying another. And I honestly, I mean, I don't care who you voted for. It doesn't bother me at all, really. I just don't, it's mind-boggling that we've come to this sort of conclusion. And the way that the media are riding this is that it's imminent and that it's going to happen. There's been no official clarity of that. There's also been absolutely no... Putin said that he's not going to invade Ukraine. Biden said he's not going to go to war with Russia. So, you know, people are... Media, again, over-exaggerating everything completely. I mean, you've had people say it's imminent. It's not imminent in the sense that nobody's actually said they're going to do it yet. It's a standoff that's taking place right now. Putin doesn't want the Ukraine to become part of NATO, because that brings NATO, who is essentially a threat to Putin and the Russian Republic, you know, it puts them a little bit closer and within reach. So it's all very interesting what's happening. It's a real shame that we're at this, but this is what's plaguing markets right now. And we can actually take a look at a number of other markets just to see how they reacted. Yeah, you can see the S&P got hit. Take a look at the Nasdaq. Yeah, you can see they got hit. All markets just are going, hang on, we don't really want any part of this. I mean, the Nasdaq's, since March 2020, this is the biggest sell-off it's had. Huge amount of, and we've gone over this, inflationary event, huge amounts of inflation, threats to tackle it. Inflation is not going anywhere. That's what I think plays out generally across markets, but I could be completely wrong. Just because I've said something, we've been wrong on many things, guys. I think people think as somebody who is in the crypto space, you need to be right about everything. It's impossible. What you do need to be right about is more than you're wrong about. Largely in regards to, and you guys can go way back to the start of my channel, you know, for 5 years now, I've been right about the direction the cryptocurrency is going in. I still believe I'm going to be right about where it's going to continue, you know, the journey that it's on. I think we're at a small market cap in comparison with the value that we're going to accrue over time as we see adoption and so on and so forth come into play. But we've spoken about all this in great detail. But short-term calls are nearly impossible. Yes, you know, you're basically taking a probability-based guess. What has the most likelihood of playing out? And when you've got, you know, just like Raul saying here, his advice after 32 years of essentially trading and investing is don't try and trade geopolitical events. And I couldn't agree more on him, because the mainstream media, are, you know, they should definitely be held accountable for what's taking place there, and certainly in markets, because as far as I can see, none of this is actually imminent. We know that, you know, Russia are flexing their muscles right now at the Ukraine and kind of saying, look, we're not, you know, we're putting our foot down here. We don't want this to take place. And obviously the US and NATO are saying, hang on. Also, Boris Johnson. I mean, like I say again, I'm not really, you know, for any of these guys, or it's not really something I pay too much mind to. But is that really the guy that we want to be going and having debates with Putin on whether, you know, we should? It's just crazy what's going on. But this is what's taking place in markets. Some of my thoughts. I'm going to try and stay as politically neutral as I can, as diplomatic as I can. But this could just be another nothing burger. It could just be, you know, a standoff that equates to nothing. There's an agreement that's been made, and then do markets flourish on the back end of that? Just like do markets flourish on the back end of the Fed coming and saying, okay, we're going to do something about inflation. We're going to up it 0.25% because that's all the economy will allow for. And in a year, the 5 rates that you're going to have will maybe equal 1.25%. You know, markets are going to flourish on the back end of that because it does nothing. Why would you want to hold dollar? Unless they upped interest rates by 7%, your dollar is still losing value year on year. And that, what people, you know, markets are very, very emotional and very, very hypersensitive in the sense that the core issue here, the core Bitcoin has never been so relevant as it is today, along with a number of other, along with the principles of investing full stop. Yet people are kind of running to the hills, and it's got a lot of it's to do with speculation. People think, okay, well, if that's the case, we're going to get our money out and buy in back at a shorter price, but ultimately, you know, people will buy back in. They've just got to find where they think it's appropriate. And that's often when you see money entering markets, it's just really just waiting to then be redeployed. And it's because of this whole inflation doesn't go away. The dollar's garbage. Fiat systems are garbage. Go and look into John Law, by the way, the Scotsman that essentially had a huge role in fiat systems. Essentially, he came up with the idea that you could have a currency backed on nothing in France, and then he tried it out in a number of other places, but it collapsed because people went, well, hang on, there's nothing backing this, we can't exchange it for anything. But I'm waffling on now, guys. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. It was just a market update, really. We'll see what transpires. Nothing's happened yet. Will it? It's anybody's guess, really. Can we trust the mainstream media? Absolutely not. Can we trust what the governments around the world are saying? I would argue we can't. I think they've lied to us time and time again. I think people are realizing that, and I think people also understand that there's a lot of special interests probably at play on both sides here, that don't benefit or represent the people. You know, there should be one class, us, and not, you know, these individuals. But I'm rambling on way too long now, guys. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. If you have enjoyed this content, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment. We'll see. We're going to be keeping you up to date and making a market update anyway on Monday. Talking about this, they're talking about 75 basis points in March. Are they crazy? Try 25. We'll see what happens though, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the content, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment, and I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video.